And hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Nirvana Diaz.
I'm Amanda Bressler.
I am Raymond Morales.
Unpaid intern.
Yep.
Yay.
And we're here this week going to talk about journalistic integrity and how much it has changed since Trump is out of office.
So this is a lot. This is a lot.
Journalistic skepticism, really.
Yeah.
And by the way, as typical, we
I
live
would
in
call
New
it
York
integrity
City.
a little bit,
I
but
would call it integrity too.
By the way, just a warning for those of you who have sound issues. We live in New York City. There's a siren in the background. It's hot. We have a window open.
it's the
fans running.
very last day of August, so God decides to have it to be the hottest day of the entire week.
God or Biden?
Take
Remember
a pick.
they
Depends
have
who-
like weather control
God
machines, man.
oh, we do.
You gotta watch out. Yeah,
We do.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sir Godwin has
You think it's a-
spoken.
You think it's a coincidence we pull out of Afghanistan?
Hitting his watch.
And
I got
Nolans gets
places.
hit with a
I
late
got
summer.
places to be.
Am I gonna
Yeah.
go? This is how you get viral like Bernie
Yeah.
with
Yes.
the mittens.
Bernie's mittens, Biden's flex.
I got places
Biden's
to
watch
be-
flex while
looks
while
at the
dead soldiers are
camera.
walking past.
Looks at the camera.
On
Points
my-
at watch.
Yeah.
Shrugs. Work,
Online.
man.
Online, they were saying you'd look at that watch too if you had drip like that.
Oh, well, maybe. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's what makes your
Haters.
drip hit different. When you
Those are-
can't dress yourself no more.
Yep.
Oh.
That's what happens when you have the Cartier watch.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. All we need is Cartier
So
watches.
basically, today we're talking about Joseph Bidet. Biden, sorry, he's up our ass either way.
Autocorrect is
But-
just crazy sometimes.
Sorry, new phone. Who dis?
The scapegoat has
Tried
left
so hard not
office
to choke.
and in comes Godwin.
Yes, yes.
Cheeto Man God.
Godwin enter.
Cheeto Man, sorry, Orange Man bad, Dementia Man worse.
No. To the press, Dementia Man doing all he can because he got dementia.
That's true. He's firing
You
on
doing
all
all you
cylinders.
can. Good.
Trump gets orange spray tan because, hey, he likes how it looks against his toupee.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Is that what it was?
It
Probably.
made the blonde blonder.
Blonder.
It
Yeah.
made it pop.
Yeah.
It made his eyes bluer. It made a lot of things.
You
the red in
guys-
his tie pop. The flag on his side.
Unpaid
pop.
intern and I have the same love for pro wrestling, so we understand. But you guys have to understand when you have that deep
I'm
of
nodding.
a tan,
I'm nodding. You guys can't
I'm
see
too,
me
I
nodding.
can-
but I'm
you
nodding.
see it.
now
I
need
can
a
see it
certain
making
shade of
sense.
blonde. Look at Hulk Hogan.
It's true.
Look at
Steve Austin before he
Steve
lost
Austin
his hair.
before he lost his hair.
Very
Shawn
true.
Michaels.
That's
If you're gonna tan like that, you need a certain level of blonde hair to make it look right.
That's strong.
All right.
Just saying.
All right.
I believe
Whereas
it.
Biden just looks that orange because he forgets to get out of the self tanning booth. I don't know.
Not sure.
I noticed they have the same color lately.
They
Yeah.
do have the same color.
He's
Yeah.
trying
He's
to
trying
go
to-
viral.
We need a new makeup artist in the White House. I just really did not like these colors.
no.
Well, I guess he's not.
Whoever's adding
He's
the
still
spray
there
tan.
enough to keep doing the spray tan by himself.
But I don't care. It's like someone should literally go, no, we're finished with this spray tan. It's enough. It is fugly.
You can
It
look
needs to
healthy
stop.
while being pale. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It's
Orange
fine.
is not a shade. Your skin should be.
There are no
Amen.
orange humans.
Amen.
There are
Not yet-
no
not yet at
orange
least.
humans. Well, by the time there's orange humans, there'll also be humans with wings.
Ooh.
Like, let's just be honest.
Ooh, that'd be
Also,
fun.
yeah.
I call dibs.
I signed up for wings.
I sign up for wings.
I want
celestial angel
You know what?
wings.
nice bat wings that can wrap around me and keep
I
me
want
warm.
the Castiel
warm?
shadow.
Yeah.
I want the Castiel supernatural shadow wings.
Okay,
There we
those
go.
work.
There we
Yes,
go.
yes.
I want clear wings.
Clear.
So that way when it looks right in a certain light, so it either looks pink,
Mm.
blue, sometimes
So you want the
purple.
butterfly wings.
Iridescent.
She wants
Iridescent.
iridescent. You want the moonstone wings.
Ah, well,
You still don't have as
Shocking
much.
who? I'm the unpaid intern and I want the most.
Of course.
You still wouldn't have as much
how it
drip
goes
as
with
Joe
them
Biden's
interns,
watch.
Yeah.
Joe Bidet's watch has so many
So
fucking
yeah, Joe Biden
drips.
can look at his watch, but
Trump salutes to the coffins,
and he's just the most horrible president this world has ever seen. He hates life.
he was
He
pretty bad.
hates people.
He was
and
pretty
worst
bad,
of
though.
all, he hates himself. Well, I don't think he hates himself.
No,
No,
I think
he
loves
loves himself.
I think he loves himself. I think that's the one thing that a lot of these presidents lack.
loving themselves.
Self-love.
Loving themselves.
We haven't had a president that really loved themselves since like Teddy Roosevelt.
I was just
Yeah.
about to say him.
That man just flexes on haters.
Oh yeah.
Bull
He's
moose.
flexing on
When
them.
you call yourself a bull
Bull.
moose,
You gonna get shot in the chest?
When you wear that
And keep
hat,
going.
you know you about it.
Yeah.
was very on Vogue at the time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But please, Reagan got like grazed by a bullet and like gave up. What a pussy.
And yet there is still that one speech where like a balloon popped and Reagan thought it was a bullet and he goes, "Miss me."
Nice.
Yeah. That was a flex. That was a flex on
Haha.
Reagan.
Never
Tell me-
That was a
tell me you've
that was a
acted in-
flex on Reagan.
Tell me you've acted in cowboy movies without telling me you've acted in cowboy movies.
Right.
Right. Miss
Pop,
me.
missed me. Ah, Mr. President. The great communicator. Unlike Biden.
For how long?
For how long? 2
Yeah.
terms.
No, I mean for how long was he the great communicator?
Oh, that was his nickname,
Yeah.
like, starting.
Uh,
They were trying to say that basically because he's an actor, he was the best at
Please.
giving speeches and communicating to the American people.
just
that
because you're an actor
Cold
doesn't
War-
mean that you're good at making speeches
I'm making politics.
and
Yeah.
making politics.
But he was very good at convincing people that crack wasn't the government's fault. We'll get to that another time. Today is about journalistic skepticism.
Yes.
We love it. Well, some of us here, a lot of us or whatever, but some of us here love Glenn Greenwald.
Yes.
And he had an interesting video that we watched talking about how journalistic skepticism suddenly became a thing during the Trump administration.
yeah.
And it's
Whereas-
not hold on, it's not a Republican thing because we didn't have it under W either.
No.
So it specifically
Not
was
for the first term.
right.
No.
It specifically was a Trump thing.
The second term, we did kind of feel it was okay to swing on W,
Because
But
everybody
it was-
thought W was stupid.
but
Yes.
it was after 3 years
Throw the shoe,
of...
throw the shoe.
Yes, exactly. He
Throw
dodged
the
shoes well. He might be the most agile president, still don't care.
That was a pretty good dodge of that.
That was
shit.
a very good dodge.
Yeah, that was admirable. The only thing he did that was admirable.
I remember that.
Maybe he did some cool shit when he was a male cheerleader. I didn't see it.
Or maybe
But-
he learned something in the Skull and Boners. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ah,
maybe he did something cool for them too.
Yeah.
I'm
we
sure
missed
he
all
did
that
some cool stuff in that coffin introduction ceremony. Google it. But
We
for the
missed all that
first
sadly.
for the first year of W, we were under like normal American, who cares who's president,
Right.
basically
That's
rules.
true.
And,
Yeah, no one
and
really
guidelines.
cared.
And then for the next 3 years of his first term, it was very much if you speak out against anyone who's American, you're probably in the Taliban.
Right.
Yeah.
You're probably in Al Qaeda.
You're an Al
Al-Qaeda.
Qaeda sympathizer.
Yes.
But then second term, we managed to kind of like try to pin him to a wall.
Yeah.
As all journalists should do to every politician, because if you don't try to pin them to a wall, they'll get away with murder.
They're the critics. Like, if you want to
Yeah.
think of this simply from like a standpoint of something we all understand, it's like, did you read the critics' review of this movie? How many times do you really trust the critics' review when you yourself as the viewer are like, what the fuck am I watching?
Exactly.
Like, how many times has there been a Rotten Tomatoes score where you're like, really? You all like this? Why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
What
really,
is-
you
what
all
is-
don't
or
like
re-
this?
Or recently, a lot of times Rotten Tomatoes go back and they watch a movie and they're like, we gave that a very low score, and this is actually a really good movie, or it's vice versa. They're
Yeah.
like, we gave this movie a really good score,
To
and this
return to
movie
this.
is trash. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
But just to put that into context for anyone who's like, oh, I'm not really into politics, what do you mean with all of this? That's what a journalist is in my mind to a president.
Yeah.
You are the critic. You know, you have maybe even had more time to look into the topic than the president himself.
Yeah.
Because they're going through so many different topics. Think about all the things that as a president you have to handle in one day.
Aliens.
the amount of topics,
really.
the amount of files
Including
that you probably
aliens.
get.
Yeah.
It's almost in my mind, because I'm a bit of a royalist, but it's almost like the Queen of England getting her box every single morning
Right.
filled with government papers.
Right.
Every single day is something different. The
How
one on
she's-
the top is what they want her to look at. The things on the bottom, they'd rather her not know, so she flips it over.
Yeah.
And
That's
she
smart.
looks from the bottom up.
Nice.
That's smart.
So it's literally that kind of thing for our government. Like every morning, who knows? Like they get to the Oval Office and he's like, "Here, Mr. President, here's here's everything that you need to know for today."
Right. But if you're a journalist, you specialize
like-
in each topic.
Exactly.
You have spent years studying on just 3 of the 4,000 papers he has to read.
Yeah.
So you're going to know more on the topic than the president could know.
But here's the sad fact of the matter. The president is supposed to fill his cabinet with similarly
Right.
Educated
skilled
and
experts.
yeah.
Whatever your expertise may be, he's supposed to be able to tap someone on the shoulder and say,
It's your turn.
fill me in on wheat. Fill me in on the Taliban now being in control of the world's largest opium field production.
Yeah.
And now the Taliban is going to go ahead and make drugs illegal and growing opium illegal. and how now the world still has a hunger for their opiates. They're going to have to be grown elsewhere.
Yeah.
So now you've created a power vacuum, and in a number of sketchy borderline countries that we've usually helped be sketchy and borderline,
Yeah.
like the Philippines, like most of South America, etc. Now there's going to be the next big thing of who can grow the opium we want
Yeah.
as a planet.
Yeah.
And the Taliban's denying that because we've allowed them control of a country the same way we've allowed them control of, 8%? 10% of every Humvee that's ever come off a damn assembly line
God, yeah, they
is
have.
now in the hands of the Talibans.
So this is my point. So
Tally
then
bananas.
the Tally bananas.
Come,
So-
Mr.
Tally
Taliban, tally me banana.
But to keep on topic too,
Ladies come and they cover themselves.
to keep on topic too, like when Trump was in office and they were like, oh, well, he's just playing golf. At least I could actually look at the photos or other things and be like, okay, yeah, you're right, he is just playing golf. But with Biden, you're like, no, but he actively is trying. As he looks at his watch. As
Well-
he says he's going to run somebody over for talking about Afghanistan.
As
Yeah.
he disappears for 6
As
days,
he
and you have no
disappears
idea
for
what he's
6
doing.
days and you have no idea what he's doing. As he does all this stuff in silence and in private because they're not talking about what he's actually doing like they were so ready and open
With
to do.
Trump,
And
go
once-
find him.
Trump.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once again, to bring it back on topic, is he's only allowed this leeway because the journalists who allegedly are supposed to be the fifth estate and are supposed to keep powerful people in check aren't saying, Mr. President, Joe Biden, why are you not
Doing your
staying
job.
here for questions after you've done your job?
Right.
Right.
He's done his job. It's done. We pulled
Right.
out of Afghanistan as we record this. Earlier this morning, the last plane put its last wheels up in its body.
It's the fall
probably
of Saigon
carrying some Taliban.
Part 2. It's
But-
the fall of Saigon Part 2.
Yes.
Seriously.
And as of the recording of this, today, they claim the war is over because the last American plane
Has
left
flown.
its wheels.
Not the last American, though. The
No.
last
The
Americans are still there.
Only a couple
Trapped.
hundred.
Only a
a
couple
couple
hundred.
And
hundred.
there's a whole bunch of other helicopters because they said the last plane.
Right.
That's true. That's true. Well, we're leaving the helicopters. We figure they don't have mechanics to run them, so at some point they'll crash, and we can accept another victory.
Talibani no learny.
Yes. Taliban has no access to the internet schematics of a Black Hawk. I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah. No.
I could find it right now with a 30-second Google search. But the Taliban has
Or
no
video
access to
games.
the American-created Wait, they certainly do. Damn. Misjudged.
Misjudged big time. Honestly, I feel like at this point in our generations, in just general, that all these like video games, I feel like at this point everybody knows how to fly a Black Hawk,
Not even that. How to fix one.
How to
also.
fix one,
How to
too.
fix one. How to
how to do it,
how to fly one. How to
fly
theoretically fly one.
And to bring it back to journalistic skepticism,
Yeah.
I was a young man right after 9/11. I turned 21. I was very young. And I was very much skeptical of anything that was told to me by the official party line. Anything that was told to me after the first 3 years or so preceding 9/11 was met, in my mind, with a healthy dose of skepticism. And supposedly one of the 9/11 hijackers, one of the men who flew into the World Trade Center, had his passport just
Just casually unscathed
floated down to
the floor.
downtown Manhattan unscathed by the massive explosion that goddamn plane caused. That huge fucking loss of life. Somehow this one passport dodged that. And no journalist said, isn't that convenient?
Isn't that strange?
Conveniency is convenient.
Reality is weird enough to make any fiction writer just balk.
Yeah.
I understand that. Reality gets weird. Things can happen. But there wasn't
It's
a
like the
single
golden
journalist
ticket
that said,
miraculously home.
yeah, isn't that a little weird? Not a single journalist
Person.
felt comfortable enough to say, isn't that strange? Because suddenly, directly after 9/11, it became damn near treason to speak ill of the government or whatever the government was telling you.
This moment actually kind of reminds me of that moment that they're so afraid that Trump may return or Trump-esque
He will.
person may return
He will.
that I'm not allowed to do my due diligence as a voter and go, but
The emperor
Can
will
I-
come back.
I ask a
And
question
he will
because
still have no clothes.
this makes no sense to me. You're like this
thinking
moment
Palpatine.
reminds me very much of that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's now making me think with this topic, were people tired of Trump, or were people tired of just hearing about him every day and like how
Yes.
he's messing up? But if we're being honest, the one time that shit hit the fan with Trump was when they
January
went to the
6th.
Capitol. Yeah,
January
Yeah.
6th.
was when they went to the Capitol. But
Yeah.
other than that,
Funniest moment in American history.
yeah. Other than that,
Not gonna lie,
the hardest
funniest thing
knock-
I've ever seen on television.
Other than that, the hardest knock against Trump was the fact that he was playing golf, and then he wasn't doing anything about the children in the cages.
Or he was
No
lowering
one,
the
honey,
esteem
it wasn't. That
of
wasn't
the
just
office.
Trump. That was
Yes,
everybody.
that was everybody.
Nobody gave a shit about
Who
the
built
kids
the
in
cages,
No one
everybody?
cared when Obama did
Obama.
it.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Look,
Obama built cages.
Obama built the cages.
Obama.
He built the cages, and then
He filled
Trump
them.
filled them.
Well, Obama filled them
Obama
too.
Yeah.
built them too.
And I was, like so many Americans, completely under Obama's spell
I
for
was
a
too.
time.
Me too.
For a time. Like so many Americans, I thought it was a huge milestone
To have a
that
black
we
guy.
elected a black man, a half black man, half white. Everyone neglects to remember he's also just another old white man. But like so many, I was
Just
caught.
mentality for sure.
It's
I was
definitely
caught
that
in his
mentality.
sway of things will be different. New Orleans will never suffer another flood that won't be dealt with appropriately. And then Obama went to work, and we saw proof to the lie.
There was his
We-
whiteness.
We saw he was, like
The
I
whiteness
said,
The witness came out.
one more old white man. And I have nothing against old white men specifically. Old
It's like
white men
Invasion of
have
the
often
Body
given us.
Snatchers.
Yes, but old white men have given us some of the greatest things humanity has ever experienced. Old white men can be great. Old white men can also be demons.
Old white man mentality is maybe what
Old-
we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once again, during the Obama administration, there was a certain honeymoon period where if you spoke out against him, clearly you were a bigot.
Or you
Or
were just
racist.
racist.
Or a racist, a bigot. But now, in his second term, we started to hear slight whispers, rumblings of he has a kill list. Every Tuesday, they meet together and decide who's going to be assassinated by the American president, the United States president, by drone strikes.
Pull!
Yeah, he might have studied to be a lawyer. He never once was a judge. I don't know why we give such power to a singular entity without, again, to bring it back to what we're talking about, journalistic skepticism. How do we give so much power to a single,
Individual.
fallible individual? We all have failings.
And always
He
people.
must
and
have had
always,
failings, obviously.
and always
we give him
people-
carte blanche to do whatever he wants because he's the first half-black president.
But also people who are old enough to get health care from the government.
But
Because, like, again, if you're 65 and older, you should not be allowed to run for any form of government position. President, especially.
If there's a
Because
minimum
if
age,
there's
why
a
is there
minimum-
not a maximum
If there's
age?
not a maximum, exactly. If there's not a minimum, why isn't there a maximum?
We've decided it's
maximum
prudent.
should be 65. If you are older than 65, you are cut off. You do not get to run again.
We can have a debate, whatever the age might be.
Whatever.
Whatever
I
you
think 65
decide.
is good.
65 is a good cutoff.
If
When
science
you're able to
says,
when you're able to be on Medicaid or Medicare or whatever the hell it is at this point,
yeah,
that
that should be clear
if you're able to
delineation
retire,
line.
if you're able to
There's
get
something-
retirement, then yeah.
If you can, or if the exemption would be, if you want to make an exemption, you can prove that you actually know what's happening in today's America.
And you're
Not
mentally
the
there.
America of your dreams or of your childhood or the way things used to look and the way you like to imagine them.
Oh,
But
give me a
in
fucking
this
break.
very moment, can you tell me the median asking price for a house in New York City,
Mm.
in Washington, D.C.? Are you aware about what's happening right now?
because
And please, go
because
ahead.
especially too, like all these people are talking about like the youths and the all these
youths.
presidents
I
are
love
like,
that.
yeah,
Youths.
the youths. We need to get the
Youths.
youths
What's a
involved.
youth?
But it's like, to you, sir, what is a youth? Is
40.
a youth 15? Is a youth 40?
Yeah.
Is a youth 30? Is a youth 10 years old? Because you're telling me, as a youth person, to go out and to do my due diligence for my country, but yet you in power, don't do it.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're asking me to pick up your slack as a youth,
Yeah.
because I am the quote the future of this country. Yet you take my jobs, you take my government, you take my
Money.
everything. So
Yeah. they take your
Money especially.
as a youth, sir, what shall I do?
What is interesting also is that supposedly they have all the power, right? But to get things, and this is what I think journalists are also, again, not talking about. They're acting like the little bit we got with the extension of the eviction moratorium is the answer. Not that our landlords going broke, because they are not going to get paid.
And now rents are skyrocketing to beyond belief
Right.
in Manhattan.
But how do I
Because
then...
everyone's trying to test the water.
Because everyone's trying to test the water, and everyone's
also leaving.
And everyone's also leaving, but also because New York City is now one of the most expensive places to live in the United States, next to maybe, I want to say, San Francisco.
It's one of the most expensive
It's a place
places,
to
and
live.
it's one of the most top places now, at least, that is trying to silence you for your
Exactly.
beliefs on whatever it may be.
Yeah.
When New
Everything.
York used to be a place where I could go out on the street and shout it, and some people would either put money in my hat or just walk by.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was more or less New York's character until a certain politician, in this case Giuliani,
Ugh, fuck you,
decided
Giuliani.
to cater to big business and Disney and change the very character of our city.
And then Bloomberg kept going.
But
Yeah.
in much the same
But
way that the
Bloomberg
character
ran
of
the
our
city as a business.
yes,
Yes.
Which
a
honestly
luxury
worked,
product.
a luxury product, but that kind of worked in our favor. More often
It's-
than
it silenced us a lot.
It silenced us a lot, but it still worked in our favor a little bit better than Giuliani and fucking fuck all better than fucking De Blasio.
a freaking Ferris wheel in Times Square,
Yeah.
but yet we are in Afghanistan. Get your minds off of people.
If you could just see the look on her
True.
face, her eyes just bulged out of the
My
out of her
sister
head.
Nell got bit by a rat, and yet Whitey's on the moon,
Exactly.
etc.
Right.
But this is what we faced. And personally, I think, as a New Yorker especially, Donald Trump is a damn embarrassment.
He is an
He
embarrassment.
was an embarrassment. He is an
Yeah.
embarrassment. He was an embarrassment before he held public office.
He was just
He's an embarrassment now that he's
Yeah.
going to have a damn presidential library built in his honor.
Good
He's an
Lord.
embarrassment.
the
Good
coolest thing
fucking
he ever did
But the
was
one-
Home Alone.
Yes, Home Alone, his little cameo, was the nicest thing he ever did.
Yeah,
And maybe working with Joan Rivers, because she's a saint.
she was. Yes, she was.
She was a saint.
God rest her.
But the only beneficial thing about having a man like Trump, not Trump necessarily, but a man like Trump in office was suddenly
Everyone was paying attention.
the press is doing what they're meant to
Everyone
do.
was paying attention,
which
and
was
the press was
question-
doing their job and questioning every single move he
Yes,
made.
and telling truth to power.
Exactly.
That's what the fifth estate is supposed to be there to do.
But
Exactly.
now that there's a quote safe
safe
president in office right now,
Well said.
everybody
Senile.
wants to just be
We're-
quiet
And pretend he is
relax.
and everybody
pretend
wants,
he is
and
safe.
everybody wants to go back to sleep.
But nobody's remembering the fact that he literally walked out. You were trying to ask him all these questions, and that man just walked out. You could ask Trump whatever question you wanted, and he would give you an answer.
It might have been a good
It
answer.
It might not have been a good answer, or
It
he would
might
have
not been the
deflected,
answer
It
that
made
or
no
he,
sense.
or
wanted.
it made no sense, or he would have deflected
Whatever.
completely, or he would have
But
been like, I don't want to answer that
he
question.
never walked
and moved
out.
on. He would never walk out.
He
I mean,
never
he did
walked
walk
out.
out a few times.
Well-
he did walk out a few
When?
times.
During COVID?
Yeah. He walked out a lot during
But
COVID.
here's the difference. Within the persona of fucking Trump, we now had someone who could be guilted into doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Someone who understood in order to be liked, in order
Yeah.
to get good approval ratings, which his narcissistic mind was
Also,
addicted
somebody
to.
understood that eyes are on you 25/8.
And it bothered
Yes.
him.
But-
It bothered him to be...
But the point is,
It bothered
never
him
mind
to
if
be
it
the bad
bothered
guy.
him or he slept peacefully in the night, he could be guilted into doing the right thing because people will talk about him.
Yeah.
Whereas
Shame.
Bidet seems to be
Ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling a shame.
making
Especially
a
when they came at
whole
him-
presidency built on the basis of I've done politics long enough, I know better.
But you don't
And the president-
seem to know better.
The president
You
no
seem
longer
to just be fucking senile.
But now the
Sadly.
president no longer has the check that's supposed to be in place of smart, educated folks asking him, was it the best idea to leave so many Black Hawks in Afghanistan? no one is asking him the question face to face out of the press corps. Wasn't American policy, basically since the creation of America, to be if we can't bring it back with us, we don't leave it in the hands of the enemy.
Exactly.
We bomb it from the sky.
Exactly.
We make sure it's not usable.
It's either
before we leave.
If we can't have it, no one can.
Yes.
That's the mentality that I've always assumed that we have
Because
as
it's
Americans.
the mentality that
It's the
Hollywood sold us.
Exactly.
And sadly, as somebody who's
that's not.
born and raised
so retarded.
during the
Excuse
Cold
me.
War, it seems to just have been we didn't want our tech to wind up in the hands of the Russians. They could actually do something with it. And
But
they're
since
willing
they're
to
not
let
Russians,
Afghanis
it's
have
okay.
the... never mind Afghanis. Afghanis
Taliban.
are neutral. But they're willing to let the Taliban have Black Hawks, Humvees, mine-proof vehicles, because they understand that we've taken all the mechanics. At some point they'll grind to a halt and they won't be able to get those Black Hawks back and let them be airborne. But in the intervening moments, as of the recording of this particular
They
podcast,
left dogs.
but never mind the dogs, as of
Never
this
mind the
morning,
What do you mean never mind
of
the
course,
dogs?
the dogs are sad as hell. But I mean more...
Doggies matter more than fucking Black
The
Hawks.
dogs that Americans left in kennels because we didn't have room for them on our bug-out planes.
Fuck that. I would have had 5 dogs sitting on my lap.
After 20 years of knowing that most folks in the Middle East, because Islam teaches you that
Dogs
are
demons.
demonic, they might not be taken care of in the best way.
No.
That's an abomination.
That is
But beyond that, as of the recording of this particular episode, there was a man hung from the bottom of an American bought, paid for, built, taxpayer-owned Black Hawk.
Yeah.
Was being hung by the fucking Taliban.
Yeah.
And I have to go onto the internet to see that.
And
I
not
can't
on the
just
news.
be told that
No.
on New York One.
You can
on
go to Fox News
CNN.
now.
On Fox News, they're probably talking about it because it makes the other side look bad.
But that's the thing too.
But we've
though.
become so divided that if you're in the other team, I can now just snap on you. I could rip on you because, haha, the other team looks bad. We're all one team. If you go a little further, even the Afghanis are one team. Let's be
Yeah.
honest with this.
But that's the thing too, though. Like speaking about Fox and all these other news channels, all these other news channels, Fox. I mean, not even Fox. MSNBC,
CBS.
CNN, CBS, all of them.
Daily
Trump was
Show.
in office. All of them.
Daily Show.
You're just clowning on Trump and saying that he's a bad president, saying that he's embarrassment, saying he's this. Yes, yes, yes. Those are all true things.
Accurate.
But where is anything about Biden? You have to go to Fox now. You have to go to
You're
Fox
making us
now.
all watch
You're
Fox.
making,
You're making
us
us
watch
watch
Fox
Fox.
because you guys don't want to talk about the problem anymore because the problem is your side.
Exactly.
Because the problem is
Amen.
you.
Yes.
And because
Yes.
the problem is what you wanted, what you created. You made this
Yeah.
problem for us, and now that we're asking you, can you talk about the problem? You can't because you know that if as soon as you do, you will be in the blame.
You've released
And you-
the monster from its cage,
Yes.
and now that the monster is out,
Exactly.
you don't want to talk about how to get it back inside the cage.
And
Right.
as somebody who's a self-identified lefty, I wouldn't say Democrat,
No.
but a lefty.
Yes.
Basically, from the moment I could choose, I obviously saw that the left was where I belong.
Yeah.
Now I have to turn to someone like just Tucker Carlson
Oh,
because he's the only one talking about the
God.
eviction moratorium.
the amount of
He's
Tucker
the only
Carlson
one-
that we've watched.
He's the
Oh,
only man who's
oh,
giving
God.
someone like Jimmy Dore a brave voice in this fucking moment of uncertainty and trauma and just danger.
Help.
He's the only person giving voice to the more radical left, saying we have not done enough. Saying things like every other developed Western, first world, whatever buzzword you want to attach to it, every other country that has enough means to pull it off has given their people not only just irrevocable health care, but you were given during this harsh time of pandemic 60 to 70 to 80% plus of your wages as a guarantee. We've locked down. We've chosen that for you. So if your job is closed, we will now give you your wages unquestionably until this storm is blown over.
America is straight up the only place that still follows laws that were written in a quill pen.
Yes.
Yes.
Y'all
And
were writing with feathers,
they're
and
boasting.
you're still practicing this. Meanwhile,
That's
like you
true.
just said, every
Some of them were
other
pretty
place.
cool.
Some of
but
them are pretty cool,
Some
but
of them
yeah.
are not so cool.
And
No.
America's the only country.
Like you could honestly, like, there's a joke in Family Guy where they're like maybe the founding fathers didn't actually mean the right to bear arms. Maybe they meant actually have a pair of bear arms, like the actual animal bear arms hanging on your wall, not the actual form of bearing weapons of mass destruction. No, your right was to have a pair of fucking bear arms to use as mittens.
It's hysterical. I like that.
Ursine arms.
Mittens get over just like Bernie did.
Yep.
Oh.
But
Give me bear arms.
but yet again, we've been given every
Opportunity.
every beneficial
Tool.
just tool, every beneficial improvement,
Just like every
To make-
benefit of the doubt.
but every beneficial tool to be more on top of what the politicians are doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Less susceptible
Yeah.
to propaganda from any number of government arms that are telling you how they wish things were.
And because of like the era of social media now, you can't hide shit
Yeah.
anymore.
Not as well.
Not as
Unless
well.
Twitter's helping
Unless
you.
it's yes. But there's no way that you can hide all this information for long.
Right.
And yet
it's like
every
no matter
cable-
what you want to hide, someone will find it.
That's true.
And it
And
will get
bring
out.
it up to the light.
And it's
And
And
make
no
it
matter which side of
mainstream.
this divide you fall on, whether it's Fox News idiots or MSNBC idiots,
Idiots.
there
Or
is
CNN
enough.
idiots.
Yeah, whomever it may be, you are now suffering under the magnifying glass of the internet,
Yeah.
and you're asking us why we might question X, why we might question Z. It's because we've seen the proof to your lies. We've seen not every step of the way, but many of the steps of many of the ways, how you've lied to the American people using the journalistic estate, using the thing that's supposed to keep you in check. And at every step of the Biden administration, everyone feels like it's time to go back to brunch. Everyone feels like I'm tired of keeping such a close tabs,
eye.
just such
Putting
close
everything
eye
under a microscope.
on what our country does. I'm just willing to say that Biden must be doing better than Trump, not really turning the skeptical eye that's necessary to prevent that to make sure we don't have fascistic behavior.
We're back
We
to
don't
must
have-
Biden
Please.
must be doing good because I voted for him. Biden must
Yeah.
be doing good because my grandma voted for him. Because everybody that I know wanted this man to be the change, but now I have to go to YouTube, Rockfin,
Odyssey.
Odyssey, TikTok to
anywhere.
find the real information because you are now hiding it because you do not want to talk about it anymore because you created the
the
problem.
monster.
And you find it inconvenient, and you
And it's-
tend to now point out any actual civilian boots on the ground journalism is problematic, and it's not fact checked
And it's not
the way
useful
CNN
anymore.
is.
It's not useful and it's not
Because we don't
beneficial.
need it anymore because you're just creating more. No, I'm trying to find out what the real problem is because you won't tell me.
Which
Right.
again, to
Because
bring it
you
back
feel
to
like
the
it
point,
shouldn't share with me anymore because I don't need to know that because I am safe with my president.
Yes.
the same way, like I say, it's
It's like,
a number of people
you got
felt
what
because
you paid for. You got
because
what you
Obama
paid
was a
for.
black man, he couldn't possibly do wrong, yet he's the worst president in history.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
When
It's
you
really
judge
bad.
it against the metric of how did Africa do. He's the worst president in history when you judge it against the metric of how did the average black American do
Yes.
when it
Yeah.
comes to incarceration rates,
Right.
when it comes to
Ooh,
laws that were
Lord.
written that specifically target
African American.
underprivileged in this moment, usually African American folks in this country. Obama was the worst.
It was
It
so
was.
bad.
Biden's a close second, but
Trump
we'll give him a
honestly-
chance. He's only been president for like 7 months at this point.
God.
We'll see where he brings
Feels
this.
so much longer.
But the
I
point
feel,
is,
I feel like at this point, I have such little confidence in Biden. I mean, I never really had confidence in him to begin with. This is why I didn't vote for him. But I also didn't vote for Trump either because I didn't want to sell my soul to either. But the fact that we're only 7 months into his presidency, and he's already fucked up this bad, this early on.
That's intense.
It's intense
In obvious ways.
and it honestly just forebodes what we could possibly be witness to in the next 4 years.
And what's
3
even more
years.
intense is the fact that we had to find out by what? We had to find out through what? Because our journalists, our places, our news places just won't
Talk about
it anymore or show us anything.
And I shouldn't have to scour the internet to find the truth. By the way, thank you for finding us on the internet. I shouldn't have to scour the internet for the truth of the matter. I should be given it when I turn on
Point
my TV.
blank. Just point blank.
You should be.
Don't hide it. You'll
if not,
find it.
If not impartial, you owe it to us to be skeptical.
That should be another one of our T-shirts. Don't hide it. We'll find it.
Yeah, seriously. All right, guys, that's us for this. Thank you very much. We'll probably be back with this topic because it's more confusing than
Yes,
ever.
it is.
And we have been.
We have been.
Yeah, I'm Nirvana Diaz.
I'm Amanda Bressler.
I'm Raymond Morales,
And it's been unpaid intern.
as
All right.
usual.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
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 Still unpaid.